Yeah, mask up. We got hand sanitizer everywhere. And also you saw the big ones in the poopers, right? In the pooper there's a big dispenser.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Oh, we will, yeah.
I have one with me, so I don't need brakes today.
Yeah.
We cover all the hot topics here.
Yes, we do. What else? Want you guys to have fun. It's going to be sloppy.
Wow.
Yeah, they got more snow than they did up north. And two,
Oh,
one, wait, 3, go!
Woo! Woo! Yeah, all right, here we go, baby!
In this video, we're going to be discussing my race report for the ICY Adventure Trail Run 2021. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. My name is John, and this is Motivation Theory Running, and this is going to be my more in-depth, detailed race report for the ICY Adventure Trail Run. I got my notes right here, so I make sure that I hit on all the points I want to hit on because there was a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of things I learned. I had a great time, though. The Adventure Trail Race, the Athletic Equation folks put on great races. I've done tons of the races over the years. They do a great job. This was the first time I've ever done the ICY. Definitely is some strategy involved with interlupal races. This was an 8-hour interlupal race. It gives you two options, an 8-mile option and a 4.7-mile option. And you can mix and match those to try to utilize your time the best you can to get the most mileage. I'm starting to learn over the years that there actually really is a lot of strategy to this, and I need to get a little bit better myself. That was the case this past Saturday. I definitely had some issues with pulling together the laps that I needed to maximize my time. But, you know, live and learn, and definitely learned a couple things this weekend. So let's go ahead and jump into the race report. So first, my research had me little concerned because I thought this race was a little flatter than it was. The long loop had 640 feet of vert per lap, just all gain. The short loop had 350 feet of gain per lap. So I chose to start off the race doing as many 8-mile loops as I could. I did 3. I should have done 4, but we'll get into why I didn't in a second. It was a great day. It was sunny. It started off in the 20s. It rose to about 51. So the temperature wasn't a huge deal at the beginning. It seemed cold, but I really didn't find it being too cold. I've been training in this, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't even think it had anything to do with anything. It was just a great day. I love it when I get to run in the cold. It helps keep my core body temperature down, and I feel like I probably have more energy in the cold. I run better in the cold than I do in the heat, so that was not a problem at all. What I was not expecting was the amount of snow melt. They had a little bit more snow down south than we got up here, and it had all melted. It was a sloppy, muddy, slippery mess. Horses use these trails also, so I could try to guess, maybe there was 30 to 40 of those big, 20-foot wide, 15-foot long mud just slop pits that you had to kind of go around the outside of, and it kept getting wider as the day went on. I kind of got tired of it after a while and just started just going straight through it. But that got really tiring going through those constantly all day long. So Athletic Equation did a fantastic job with communicating all the race details prior to the race. They did a couple different virtual information sharing, race briefs beforehand, even did a Q&A session where if you had any questions, that was fantastic. I think people actually could probably get a lot more things answered and those than probably the old way of doing things. And of course, they sent out the waivers for the COVID stuff where they screened you when you came in. You had to sign to make sure you didn't have any of the symptoms or been around anybody else who had symptoms or was diagnosed. And of course, all of the aid stations, everything was completely no touch. You ask for the food, they give it to you. No cups. You have to bring your own cups for them to pour things into. Masks were required at all common areas. If you're close to people, of course, at the aid station as you come in each lap, the bathrooms, at your car, you could kind of pull it down unless you're with a group of people. They did a really good job of kind of really making sure everyone understood what was expected of you at the race. And I think that was a fantastic thing that they did. I think everyone who's probably raced already in this environment understands the things that they have to do to be able to be allowed to race, and I don't think anyone had any problem with any of the regulations, the rules, or anything that we had to do to get a race. So first, let's go ahead and talk about what I ate for the day. I'm gonna go through the list of stuff right here. So I was taking in 16 ounces of tailwind per 8 miles. Each loop I was taking in one bottle. I'd pour one of these single serving tailwind powders into one bottle, and I'd fill the other bottle with water. And I would do that every single lap. And of course, every time that I came in, I would top off with waters and probably a little bit of Gatorade here and there. So I was taking in probably, I'd say, 38 to 40 ounces of fluids per hour and a half, which is right where I need to be. I think that wasn't off, but I think as the day wore on, I had a long sleeve shirt on and a little bit of a thicker pullover, and I think that might have played into a little bit of the dehydration issue that I'll talk a little bit more about later. I was probably sweating a little bit more than I thought I was going to be, and I also went out a lot harder than I normally do in a race, so I probably miscalculated how much I was going to be sweating. Also, I took in 1 gel per lap and maybe 3 Cliff blocks. I was trying not to take in too much. I was trying to make sure that I dialed in my calories right around 300 calories per hour. I was trying to stick to that right from the beginning. Even before I went out, I made sure I consumed that. That way I didn't get behind at all, and that seemed to work pretty well throughout the day. So like I said, I chose to do the 8-mile loop for the first 3 laps, and that worked out well. I mean, I took off like a bat out of hell on the first lap. I ran up all of the hills and really felt great. I made great time for the first 8, 16, and even into 24. I felt like I was running a really, really good race. Had I could have held on for 2 more laps like that, things would have been really great for me that day. But you know what? Best laid plans. Sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to work out. But my goal in this was to push super hard at the beginning and not just take it easy and then run out of time, just having a great old time out there. I really wanted to see physically where my body was, and I did learn that. What I didn't account for was that 640 feet of gain each lap. That really started to work me after about, 4 hours of using my legs to dig up those hills and kind of bomb down them. That was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. It didn't sound that hard on paper, but when reality meets the trail, when your feet are the ones getting you up and down those hills, it's definitely a different story. So for time-wise, these are some of the splits and stuff that I had. So for the first 20 miles, I made that in 3 hours, 35 minutes, or about a 10:47 pace. Now, I was extremely happy where I was sitting at 20 miles. Like, if I could do 20 miles like that and hold on for 40 miles, that's 7 hours, a little over 7 hours, maybe 7.5 hours. That would be phenomenal. I would have been super happy about that performance. So for the first 24 miles, I ended up coming in at 4 hours, 32 minutes, running at 11:20 pace roughly. So that was the culmination of the first 3 laps. 1,300 feet of gain, 11:20 per mile. At 24 miles, I was pretty happy with that performance. I think I ran really, really hard. So I don't know what I could have changed those first 3 laps. I mean, hindsight could say, well, I could have taken off a little bit slower that first lap, but I think that I ran a really good race that first 24 miles because that was the plan. So after the 3rd lap is where I think I made my first mental error, strategic error in how you choose your laps and why you choose your laps. Now, I was making really good time, but I was tired of doing the 8-mile loop. There was really not a lot of people out there. We got spread out. They started us off in about 4 or 5 waves, about 20 people each. So there was some times when I was out on the long loop that I didn't see anybody for a long time. Now, that's not a huge deal, but it was nice to be able to kind of see people, maybe run near people, chase people down, things like that. It kind of got to be boring being out on the long loop by yourself. So I thought, well, maybe if I switch to the short loop, I will be able to maybe get some more loops in because maybe I can knock those out in an hour a piece. So I chose to do the short loop, the 4.7 mile loop. And if I was able to do that and then leave me enough time to complete one more 8-mile lap, that would get me to 36.7, which I would have been extremely happy with because that would have been only about 3.3 miles short of my 40-mile goal, which was ultimately what I would have hit if I had a perfect day, at least in my mind. But a couple miles into that lap, I had the wheels fall off a little bit with my dehydration, and I'm not sure about why that happened, but I think it had a lot to do with how hard I ran those first 24 miles. I think I miscalculated how much water I was going to need, because when I'm training, I don't typically go out and run that hard for that amount of distance. It warmed up to about 50 degrees. I had 2 long sleeve shirts on, so I think those factors kind of played into me getting dehydrated. But at mile 19, and I was going through some of the video, I talk about how I could hear some sloshing in my stomach about mile 18, mile 19. I'm not doing too bad. My stomach's sloshing a little bit. I don't feel bad. I haven't really bonked. My thighs and my hamstrings are just getting fried from the climbing and descents. I haven't walked much until now. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with the performance so far today. I know what that is. I know what I should have been doing. I should have been taking in some sodium and some electrolytes, which I thought I was getting through the tailwind, but evidently it was not enough. I wasn't absorbing the water quick enough to be able to keep me hydrated, and then that became a problem later on. So when I got to mile 27, I started to kind of feel, I don't know if it's a pressure down below. And if you're a runner of any major long distances, you're going to have probably felt this. I'm not sure that I'm the only one. I can't be the only one. So I pulled off to the side of the trail, go off the trail a little bit of ways to go off to pee, and I noticed that it was extremely dark. I get paranoid about that. Many years ago, I know 7-8 years ago, I had to go to emergency care because I got extremely dehydrated on a 19-mile training run. And I had to go there and get 2 IVs put in me. I didn't feel bad, but I peed blood, and it was a scary thing. So I don't mess around with dehydration because I know that I can be severely dehydrated and not really feel bad. But the first symptom I notice, peeing really dark, is something I need to pay attention to. So at that point, it was a timeout. I need to walk. I was probably maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles into the 4th loop on the short loop, and I decided to take in all of the fluids that I had on me. Mind you, my stomach was still sloshing. I did not have on me the S caps. I didn't have the sodium electrolytes on me that I needed. I did have the tailwind. I did have a water, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to drink all of this right now because I need to get into my body right now. I wasn't going to try to battle it through the next 4.5 miles, 3-4 miles, whatever it was, and try to just kind of hope it gets better. I took it all in and hope things would happen. My body would start absorbing it, and get back to base camp at mile 28 and kind of reassess at that point what I was going to do. Was I going to do another long lap or short lap or 2 more short laps? So that was the plan. Finish the lap and make sure that I'm not actually in trouble. So when I got back to the starting point for each lap, I went and sat down in my vehicle and started taking in the savory items, the salty items, chips, pretzels. I actually sat for the first time. I've been avoiding the aid station altogether. I really go in, I fill my bottles up, and I'm back out. And I was saving a lot of time that way, but this time I needed to make sure that I was okay. I sat, drank an entire thing of Gatorade, ate chips, ate pretzels, not tons of them, but enough. Took in a goo, drank some water, took 2 S caps, and then filled my bottles up again. One with 50% Gatorade, 50% water, and the other one with Tailwind. So at this point, I'd probably taken, 10, 15 minutes sitting down, working all this through. I decided I was going to go on a short lap just for safety reasons. I didn't know if I was okay at this point. I didn't feel bad, but again, I had not felt bad before when I had dehydration issues. But I tried to do all the things I knew to do to get my body to absorb the fluids again. Again, I wasn't swollen. There was no signs other than peeing really, really dark. But I wasn't going to play with anything, especially if I go on a long loop. I could be by myself out there if something goes wrong. So for safety reasons, I decided to go at least another short loop, another 4.7 mile loop, and then kind of see where I am. And if I have time, then maybe I can do an 8-mile loop, or if I'm not doing super great, I can do a 4.7. Again, this is all the math you're trying to do in your head. It's quite frustrating, especially when you're tired. So I take off to go on my 5th lap, which was the 4.7 mile loop. After I got probably 2 miles into the loop, I felt completely fine. I had a second wind. I peed 2 more times, completely clear. And that's when I knew that, I kind of shot myself on the foot there. I didn't trust my instincts. I erred on the side of safety. I seem to do that quite a bit because it's not just me. I have a wife and kids, and I try to always do things that keep me safe, not only for me, but for them also. Part of me wanted to do another 8-mile loop because, again, had I done another 8-mile loop, I would have gotten to pretty close to the goal I got for the day. But this is a learning experience. And again, I think we all need to know ourselves. You only learn more the more and more you do this. And, I'm always pushing to err on the side of safety. And, I'm not winning the race. There's no prize money involved. It doesn't matter if I, got 10th or 33rd. And actually I got 32nd overall. And I think 22nd or 23rd in the age group thing. So I'm pretty happy in that. I think it was close to 100 people right around there in the race. So that's not bad for me. I'll take a 32nd place. I was happy with the day. Is it the best I could do? No, but I think I optimized everything pretty well except for making that choice, one for safety and the other one, the other one of choosing to go short lap after the first 3 was probably not the best choice. But, hindsight is always 20/20. It is what it is. The thing about these interlupal races is you have to make the decision based on how you feel and what you think your paces are. You can't just say, well, I'm going to go into the race and I'm going to do this exact thing. Things start to slow down. You start spending time in the aid station. That slows your time down. Your time starts to shrink. So I ended up leaving about 48 minutes on the clock. I wasn't happy about that. I didn't have enough time to get around the 4.7 mile loop again to kind of get where I wanted to go. And that was a little disappointing. I could have got another 8-mile loop in had I just made that decision, but I just wasn't sure that I was okay from the dehydration, and I didn't want to put myself in kind of a weird position out there. Being tired, all that stuff, it just happens. It happens. All right, so here's some of the things that I learned. I wrote them down. So, I learned one of the things I do know, I learned a little bit about this, a little bit more about this race, is that I can actually push a lot harder than I think I can, than I thought I could in the past, and still rally. I pushed really hard for 24 miles, and then still, when I hit 30, hit a second wind. And I didn't know if I was going to have that. And that makes me feel really good for when I start doing the 50-mile race next in a month from now. And when I start, pushing to do 100, like I know that those low points are going to come and that I can push through them. And, especially pushing as hard as I did at the 50K range, I'm really happy with that. I mean, I set, I think, the second fastest 50K time for myself. I think I ran a 6:24, somewhere around there. I'll put that on the screen. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was pretty happy with that. On that terrain, that just jagged, up and down, nonstop, all day long mud fest, I was really happy with the 50K performance in this. The other thing that I learned is that, spending less time in the aid station is actually a really good thing if you can get yourself down to just the essentials, being very succinct with what you need. You know what you need, you get it and get out. And those hanging out, that's one of the good parts about not having people along, is you don't feel obligated to sit and chat. I wasn't running with anyone. I ran a couple a lap or here, parts of laps with people. There were some viewers that were out there that would talk to me, and that was completely fine. But we had the agreement, like if one felt bad or didn't feel like running together, take off, no hurt feelings. There's no hurt feelings in ultras. You got to do what's best for you. Ultras are long, and if you both slow down at different times, it just will make for a very long day for yourself. So that's completely okay. But spending less time at the aid station is actually a very, very good thing, especially in these timed interlupal races. Fueling 300 calories per hour is actually really, really good for me. I think I'm going to start probably adding in S-caps maybe every 3 hours. I used to do them. I stopped doing them because I was getting it through other means, and I've never really had cramps or issues with sloshing in the past, but I think that I could probably head off those kind of things and at least listen to my body. It was not a smart move for me to let 8 miles or so go by before I actually started addressing the sloshing in my stomach. I knew how to fix that, and I should have just took care of that. So again, if you know something about what's going on and you choose to ignore it, that's not smart. It's not smart. So just handle the stuff when it's blisters. Don't ignore things. Just stitch in time. Take care of it. That way it doesn't hurt you longer in the day. The decision I made to ignore that sloshing for that long put me in the spot where I had to make a decision that ultimately cost my me hitting a pretty good day. Now I had a good day. I could have had a really good day if I would have been happy at hitting like 36.7 miles or whatever it is, coming really close to that 40-mile mark. I would have been very happy with that. But the decision I made to ignore the sloshing caused that. So think about that when you're out there. This race has definitely made me want to hit vert a lot more. So over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing a ton of vert. I'm going to add in some long runs, but I'm definitely going to be trying to up the vert now. When I run on the treadmill, it doesn't measure my vert because it doesn't sync to Strava. So I am doing a good amount of vert, but I think I want to start spinning. I want to start doing about twice the amount of vert per week. I don't know what that's going to come out to. I need to figure that out, but definitely I have to hit more vert. Well, there's not a whole lot more I can say about this race. You know, I wore the Speedgoat 4s. Those were fantastic. I had no blisters. I had no cramping, no falls. I didn't majorly bonk. I felt pretty good all day. I got tired because I ran really hard the first 26 miles of the race. And that's what the plan was. I was going to do that, and I really wanted to see how far I could push it. So I'm extremely happy with how things went. Now, I'm always going to nitpick myself because I want to improve my performance, but right now I am happy with exactly where my performance is. And I think my training is going well, and I'm looking forward to the next couple races. I think I'm going to go sub 12 at Belmonte, which is a significant improvement over what I did the first time I ran it. I'm going to push hard in that one too, but I got to be a little smarter because that race is a long race. 52.4 miles is a long race. You got to respect the distance. And then my eyes are really setting on the ATR 24-hour race that I'm going to try to be really smart about utilizing my time best I can in that race and see how far I can get in that race, because that's a race I've been chasing for years and wanting to do a lot better than I have. So this is the year. I'm really looking forward to it. The ICY Adventure Trail Run was a success thanks to Athletic Equation and all the folks out there. They did a fantastic job. It was a really safe event, fun event. Everybody was great. I mean, it was just a great, beautiful day. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better day. It was fun. Running the mud's fun, even though it's annoying when you're trying to go fast. If you're out there and you're thinking about running an ultra marathon, I know a lot of people that watch this channel are either just starting ultra marathons or they're hoping to run one day. Do it. Set yourself up for success. Pick one out in the distance and just do it. It's not impossible. You can do it. Just put the training in, put one foot in front of the other, and you will get there. You will get there. If you see me in a race, please come up. You can run with me. You know, it's completely fine. I love seeing all of you out there. I love hearing about the stories, about how my videos help you. That's awesome. And speaking of that, you can go ahead and click here and watch the series for 2021. How I'm doing in 2021, what I got planned in 2021. So you can follow me, and if you are not subscribed, please make sure to click the subscribe button right there, and I'll see you in the next video.